Starting an e-commerce brand shocked me. Not because it was hard, but because of how much harder it actually was than what I thought. When you look online, it feels like everyone's winning, clean websites, clean ads, and big numbers on their screens. Sometimes it makes it look like you just turn something on and then money just magically shows up. But that's not how it actually feels like when you're doing it. At least it hasn't for me. So I want to tell you how it actually feels like. No hype, just the truth and my own experiences of trying to build my own e-commerce brand. I knew it would be hard, but not this hard. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because when it's hard, you build resilience, but it caught me a little bit off guard how hard it actually was. It's literally the toughest thing I've ever done. And yeah, we do have our wins here and there, and we do have successes, but it's also long, tedious, hard work. For example, learning how to write ads, it takes time to learn copywriting and all that. Writing emails, it also takes time, and it's very difficult to figure out what your customers want and what they don't want. And also answering emails from subscribers can be very challenging sometimes. Every tiny thing is a small problem that needs to be solved. And those small problems stack up and your to-do list just gets longer and longer. And here's a small little fact. You will never finish your to-do list. It will just get longer and longer, and then you need to prioritize what's the most important thing on that to-do list and what is not as important and needs to be scrapped. That's the reality for me, at least. It's a bunch of small problems that you solve every single day for long periods of time. And this brings me to the second truth. I thought things would move faster than what they actually did. Here though, I think the biggest bottleneck are my skills, because it takes time to learn and understand everything. And you don't really get the results until you actually have the skills. And if you did get results, then either you already have the skills, it was just a lucky shot. And a good way of knowing if it was a lucky shot is if you can recreate the success you had over and over again. So every step of the process can take weeks, months, and sometimes even years to complete. And much of those steps is a big, long waiting game where you take action and then you sit and wait to see what the results yield of those actions. In my case, for example, that has been waiting for samples from manufacturers, waiting on suppliers to respond, and uploading videos and then seeing what results those videos yield. For me, it's always been about taking an action and then waiting on the results and see what happens and then take the next action after that. This part messes a little bit with my head. When something doesn't work, you don't always know why, and that's especially true in the beginning. And even if you do know why something is not working, it's not always obvious what the next logical step will be. For example, if you're making an ad and that ad is not working, what is it in the ad that is actually working and what is not working? And how do you figure that out? And that can take time if you don't have the skills. Another example in my case will be the product. So is something wrong with the product, or is it something wrong with the way I packaged the offer for that product? Many of those things are not always crystal clear. It takes time and effort to know what to look for and what to do about it. And that's something I think will never change. Even seasoned entrepreneurs test and experiment all the time to see what works and what doesn't work. By the way, let me know down in the comments if you're a seasoned entrepreneur and you still to this day test and experiment all the time. I think this is the hardest one though. You work and nothing happens. You work all day, you fix things, you try new ideas, but then nothing happens. You don't get any sales, you don't get any responses from your emails, you don't get any views, you don't get any engagement. And that could be really frustrating sometimes. At least it has been for me. It's just silence and crickets for a long period of time. For example, when I upload these videos, they barely get any views or any engagement. But I work with the data and the skills that I have right now to become a little bit better and try to make every video a little bit better. And like I've said, it's a slow and tedious process, but I truly believe that I get a little bit better with every video that I post and every action I take in Nordic Dudes. So I think this is something that most people don't post about. Instead, most people post about the wins, but not the waiting and the failures that happen along the way. People post about the money they make, but not about the doubt whether the action that they took was actually a correct action to take. And with this video, I want to highlight that a little bit, that there is a lot of doubt. There is a lot of uncertainty when you're starting a business or a YouTube channel. And I think if you can work your way through this rough patch, then you're unstoppable. So if you're building something too and nothing happens, you're not crazy. This is normal. It's part of the process. It's part of the journey. And that's how I think about it. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day. Bye.